Welcome to the Unexpected Podcast, where your hosts, Lee and Amy, carry on simple conversations about everything from life experiences, the current culture, God, and everything in between. And because Lee has put Amy through years of surprises, this is her time to surprise him with unexpected topics he won't be privy to until the microphone is on and the camera is rolling. This is the Unexpected Podcast. Well, here we are again for another episode. How are you today?
Oh, I'm finer than a frog's hair split 3 ways and cut in half.
Ooh, are you guys finer than a frog's hair out there? I hope so.
Yes.
Wherever that originated and wherever that came from, but I don't know.
Are those called idioms?
Yeah.
Ah.
I think we talked about idioms last time.
Did we?
Or we referenced idioms. Because you made a joke about it. Like, are you calling me an idiom?
Oh, yeah. Sometimes I feel like an idiom. Idiom.
Idiom. Well, here we are for another topic. And as you guys know, Lee does not know the topic going into each of the episodes. And I don't know if I even really know the topic today because I didn't do a lot of prep work, but I do have a concept that I want us to talk about.
What do you got for me today?
We're going to talk about the fact that a one-size-fits-all approach to life doesn't really work.
Yes, it does. What's good for the goose is good for the gander.
You know, I'm old enough to remember when I think that became kind of a new thing with certain types of clothing items. Mm-hmm. And it would actually say one size fits all. Of course, then the joke became
one size fits most.
Right, exactly. In reference to clothing. But we use that phrase.
It wasn't in reference to clothing. It was a reference to size of people.
Well, right. For whom the clothing was made.
Mm.
Okay. But that's not where we're really going today.
It's a large subject.
Oh, my gosh. Oh, that look. That's funny. That's funny. Speaking of sizes and clothing and such, your hat is interesting.
Yes.
LAFD.
Either Los Angeles Fire Department or Lower Alabama Fraternity of something. Or Lower Alabama.
I don't know. Different things went through my mind, but I didn't say them out loud.
Laughed.
Yeah, or it's the past tense of laugh.
Laughed.
Anyway.
Yes.
I have no idea where you got that, but
anyway, I think a friend of mine, I think Mr. Jim gave this to me.
Okay.
A while back.
Mr.
Thank
Jimmy.
you, Mr. Jim.
Okay. Well, so the reason I was thinking about this idea of one size fits all is because I've observed so many times where there's a human tendency to believe that because one person has figured out a way of doing something that works for them, they therefore think that that should work for everyone. You know, whether it pertains to how you handle your finances or how you raise your children or the way you educate your children. You know, you see that a lot. And I've always tried to, anyway, not automatically assume that just because we decide to do something that works for our family, or I decide to do something that works for me, maybe health-wise, individually, I don't want to be the kind of person who tries to impose that on someone else when maybe that's not the route that they need to take for their life.
Right.
And I think part of maturity is coming to realize that, well, the one-size-fits-all approach doesn't really work because we're not all the same. And we're not all meant to walk out every aspect of our life the same way.
That would be boring. I mean, if everything was cookie cutter and plain and just straightforward all the time, that would be a boring existence.
Right.
I mean, we got to have some diversity, some, different thought processes. Right. It's what makes life interesting is whenever we're, you have somebody who's very straight-laced sit down with somebody who's very crazy and sporadic. I mean, those are fun moments. I mean, they're really fun moments.
Right.
Because you don't know what that person who's a sporadic is going to say. And then the other person's like rolling their eyes at the other, the sporadic person going, what are you doing? Because I was on this subject and now you're on like 30 subjects later, and you keep rambling on and you talk about nothing and you say a lot of words without saying anything.
Okay. All right. Well, that's interesting. Have you ever been sporadic?
Never.
Never.
Just about every day of my life.
Yeah. Well, that's true. And that keeps life interesting. And also, we're not all designed for the same purpose. We're not all designed to walk things out the same way. So like one example, that I was thinking of was we at one point homeschooled our kids when they were younger. Then they went to public school for a little while. Then we went back to homeschooling at another point. And, we always made a point to not say, well, just because this is what we're doing, this is what everyone else should do.
Right. That can get annoying. And I've been that person because it worked for me. It will work for you.
Yeah, I mean, we do have that tendency to
have that tendency to do that.
Absolutely. I do too, at times.
If I've proven it, it's got to be fact for you. There are some things that are set in stone. The grass is green, no matter what, you decide it is, it still is that color that it is within the spectrum that we can see in the human mind and eyes.
Right.
But there are philosophical approaches to everything. But then there are factual approaches to everything too.
Right.
So, I mean, for us to be able to determine that what is right or what is wrong for every single person, I mean, even the Bible talks about, what may be sin at this point may not be sin at another point.
Well, it's interesting because I'd actually, there's one particular verse that did come to my mind on this topic, which is Romans 14:22, where it says, "Happy is he who does not condemn himself in what he approves." And so that's talking about how there are certain things that are right and wrong. Some things are black and white. Some things are sin and some things are not sin. But when it gets down to these nuances of how we each operate, as long as you are convinced that this is the right path for you, that's the approach that you should take.
Right. And within boundaries, I mean, there are boundaries of everything. We can't condone or any kind of action that's going to hurt other people.
Right.
You can't condone any action that's going to hurt you. As a viewer, we can't condone anything that's going to hurt you or take you in a bad path. But what we do say is, go towards the path of peace.
Right.
And it's really the best way to put it.
Right.
Follow the way of peace. And it's not a religious mindset on different things. Like, I was really hardcore, don't do this because this will cause others to do this. And, but that one is not, there. You get into some semantics and philosophical and some crazy thoughts. But a lot of times what you see in the church world, believers, Christians, want to justify their sin by saying that, well, I don't feel convicted over it. Oh, man, that's touchy. I mean, that can be
right,
flip-floppy.
Right. Well, and that's why the Word of God is our standard. But as far as in our personal approaches to life, that's where we also need the wisdom of God to be able to make the right decisions.
Right.
And also on the flip side of this is because we started out talking about, we don't want to be the kind of people who, just because we have an understanding of something that works well for us, we don't want to impose that on other people. The other side of that is when you're on the receiving end and to make sure that you don't have to feel condemned.
Right.
I've met people before who will, good for them, but maybe boast about the fact that they have zero debt. Well, that's great. I mean, that's the ideal way to live. But maybe they're in a different part of their life than you are. And so you don't have to feel condemned because maybe your house isn't paid off and your neighbor's house is paid off, but you're doing the best that you can.
Right.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Right.
We don't have to feel like that we have to live up to
the Joneses.
Anyone's standard other than the standard that God calls us to.
Keeping up with the Joneses.
Exactly.
We don't have to keep up with the Joneses anymore. The Joneses moved out of America a long time ago, I believe.
Joneses have moved out.
They have moved out. They're gone.
You know what's so funny about that? Okay. So a long time ago, Lee used to do he did a couple of different service related jobs.
Mm-hmm.
Like he was, so you were doing appliance repair, for example.
Yep.
So he would come home and I would ask him questions like about the houses he had been in, because I wanted to know, like, are everyone's houses messier than ours or neater than ours? Because I was like comparing myself to other people.
Yeah.
And I'll be like, tell me about these houses you go into, Is it as messy as ours? Or are they neater than us? And that's kind of funny because we're like that, especially women are like that, especially.
Yeah.
I'm less like that now than I used to be. I just don't, don't worry about that.
I will say
anymore.
there are slobs out there.
Right, and we don't want
And
to be
there are
slobs.
nitpicky people out there.
Mm-hmm.
There are mediocre people that don't care but kind of want to have a little bit of a clean house.
Mm-hmm.
They like a little bit of hygiene. There's some people that's like over hygiene. You walk in, you have to put booties on your feet and all kinds of stuff when you go in the house, which is fine. That's that's their prerogative. And then there's others that you go walk in, it's like, whoa, did I get into a junkyard or is this like the trash heap? Literal trash laying on the floor, laying everywhere, laundry piled up to the ceiling. And I think what happened is they wanted to do laundry and realized, I forgot 2 years ago that the laundry machines broke. And that's why I got to call the repair guy, which was me.
Yeah.
And that's when I got MRSA from that.
Yeah,
that was
true.
messed up. My hand this hand swelled up like the size of a softball and it about killed me.
That was a scary time. So we went for like 2 weeks not knowing what was wrong with Lee's hand.
Yeah.
It would swell up. First, some doctors thought it might be a spider bite. They had these different theories.
What was messed up is when they were giving all those 4 or 5 doctors came in and they go, yeah, we're not sure. It might be a spider bite. Well, we're going to go talk about it. And then we're going to take a sample. And then we're like this. And they took a sample and went back. And then this resident, so this kid out of medical school doing their residency.
Right, and let's just say this was 2 weeks into this
2 weeks
whole
into
scenario
the whole
with his
thing.
hand swelled up huge.
Pain.
Yeah.
In the hospital. And they came in, this intern, or not intern, but resident, the medical resident. How do you say that?
Yeah, I got a doctor in residence.
Doctor in residency comes in. He's probably late 20s, early 30s maybe. And he goes, Mr. Mercer, you have MRSA. I was like, it's not funny. Dying.
But on the other hand,
I was
thank
hours
God
away.
for him.
Right.
Because he figured out what was wrong.
Right. I was hours away from going septic.
Yes.
Is that right? Mm-hmm. And my blood, the infection getting into my blood.
Right. Which could be
I was
fatal.
on antibiotics for a week, almost a week and a half, I believe it was, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And then I had to take antibiotics when I got home. But I was in the hospital for a long time.
Yeah.
And but I got it from a washing machine, they said.
Yeah.
I told them what I did, and they took some cultures of different things where I've been, and it just filled up, man. It was swelled up big time.
Yeah.
But Mr. Mercer, you have MRSA. Not funny.
Not
Dying,
funny at all. Not
painful.
funny at all. Not funny at all. But thankfully, they figured
Yes.
it out just in time, and that was the goodness of God.
Yes, for sure. But
to spare your life. But
so there's one size fits all didn't matter at that point because they had to figure out what was going on. It could have been multiple things. And doctors do this all the time. It's like that all those symptoms add up to be several different things.
right. Right.
So let's figure out which one it is. And then they eventually did. But the one size fits all. Mm-hmm. When I'm mixing audio, one setting for one person does not equate to the setting of another person. Mm-hmm. I mix a woman differently than I would mix a man.
Right.
Man, I've got a lot of low end.
Talk about mixing vocals
and dialogue and all of that,
dialogue.
singing, whatever. But one size does not fit all. We do have templates, but those templates they're malleable. We move them where we want them. Right. Our kids, anybody that has children knows that there's the eldest who feels the most responsibility of taking care of everybody else, making sure everything's okay. Mm-hmm. And then we have the middle child, and they seem to be like the go-between or the sporadic one. And then you have the baby, and everybody after that, and then the babies and the babies and all that. But if you have two children, the first one is not going to be exactly like the second one. Most of the time, they're opposite.
Yeah.
Yeah, they got some similarities, but they're different. Mm-hmm. So, what used to drive, it was so funny. Family members would buy our kids, because they're a year and 19 days apart.
Right. They treated them like twins, right, to some degree.
So, they would get the same outfit, the same shirts.
For years.
And same everything. And they would one would get one gift and one would get the same gift. And then they were like, oh, wow. Instead of getting like one gift and then getting the other one another gift that was different where they can swap maybe and play with both of them, they got a lot of the same stuff.
Well, it was fun when they were younger.
It was a lot of fun.
Kind of fun.
It was a lot of fun. My cousin and I used to get some of the same stuff all the time from people. Yeah. I mean, because we were close in age. Yeah. But I mean, that's
and going back to our we had to have two sons, but when they were growing up, I mean, it was a running joke that if one preferred the peas on the plate, the other one was going to prefer the carrots, or whatever the case may be. They just tended to be
a little bit
opposite on so many things.
Yeah.
But still had a lot of similarities.
Yeah.
All right. Well, here is, I alluded to already this verse from Romans 14:22, but I happened to be looking through the Message, which, we know is not a translation. It's a paraphrase, but I like the way some things are worded in it a lot. And this says here, Romans 14:22, cultivate your own relationship with God, but don't impose it on others. Mm-hmm. So I think there really is a spiritual principle about not trying to impose our way of doing things on other people. But, aside from that, sometimes it's good just to observe how other people do things.
Right.
And listen to what other people have to say, because there's a lot of wisdom that can be gained from also not getting into our own mindset of, this is the way it's always worked for us. This is the way we've always done it, and we're not going to change.
Right.
There's a time to be flexible.
Right.
And change.
There's a time to have some fluidity there. Mm-hmm. Creating those dynamics in your life can make your life a little bit more rich if you'll allow it.
Right.
But there's still the one thing that we are to do as Christians, and that is to spread the good news of Jesus. Mm-hmm. The good news is what? The good news is if you're poor, you don't have to worry because God will take care of your what's going on.
Your needs. Mm-hmm.
Your needs. If you're weak, God will be your strength.
Right.
If you are weary, then He'll be your comfort. Mm-hmm. And if whatever your needs are, there is a solid foundation that you can return to in Christ.
Right.
And therein lies the thing that one size does fit all. Mm-hmm. And that is that Jesus is here to give you life and life more abundant.
Yes.
And that is, now, yes, it rains on the just and the unjust, and it bad times happen to everybody. Things happen, but when you have your foundation in Christ, it makes those hard times easier to deal with, because you know who the provider is. Right. You know who the healer is. You know who it's that relationship with Jesus
Right.
the relationship with God through Christ, that we are able to make it through this life. And that is the one thing that I can say is a one size fits all.
Yeah, that's right. And also our relationship with Christ is the unifying force in our relationship. Because you take two people from different walks of life, different ways of doing things. I mean, when we got married, I couldn't believe the way you put socks together. It wasn't the way I put socks together. Like you kind of fold them over and like just the top part was like folded over, whereas I like to like fold it all the way down. And that's such a minor thing, but you're bringing these things.
She still won't let me do laundry.
That's true. I'll let you do laundry, but he just doesn't.
If I do laundry, she does it over.
Well,
so I gave up.
It depends.
I give up.
If it sits in the basket and it's just a big wrinkled ball, then it kind of has to be done over again.
It's not a big wrinkled ball. It's laundry.
That is one area because we share a lot of responsibilities because we both work full time. But yeah, laundry I do kind of like to
hoard.
I do.
I try to help, but it never. I went to school to do laundry. I did. I went to school to repair washers and dryers and teach people how to do laundry properly.
Right.
I literally went to a school, and she still won't let me do laundry. Or the dishwasher, there's where we differ. I know how to load it. I load it perfectly. She's just throw it in there and
I'm very organized
in your own way, but still wrong for me because
wrong for you.
So
right. But do they get clean?
They get
either
clean.
way.
Well,
they do. Yeah, laundry is one of those areas where it's probably some people complain like they're like, oh, I hate doing laundry. I would rather do laundry than probably most household chores. That's one that
dishes don't bother me.
Yeah, no, dishes aren't bad. Well, good. All right, there's probably some there for you to do.
But I will tell you this, guys. All you men out there, if you will do housework, it makes your marriage better. Y'all may not like to hear that, but it makes your marriage better. Pick up your socks. Pick up your clothes. It makes it a lot easier in life.
And it's not so bad to do a few chores here and there, right?
I don't mind. I like building things. I like doing
you're
stuff.
Such a hard worker, and I appreciate you because you're so efficient at almost anything that you do. So, hats off to you.
Thank you.
Yeah, good job.
I'm a man of many hats.
You might graduate to doing laundry one of these days.
Yes, I'm excited. Not excited.
Well, on that note, any final thoughts?
Well, the one size fits all approach don't always work.
Right.
But when it comes to Jesus, it does. And the one size fits all does need to be one size fits most. I do believe that because it is it's a big world. We should change everything to one size fits most.
Right.
I'm not talking about people that are large. I'm talking about the world that's large, and maybe a little.
And it really takes it's about humility and extending humility and extending mercy to others.
Yeah. Well,
so the world could use some more mercy, couldn't it?
Oh, the world needs mercy. The world needs help. The world needs a psychiatrist. But mainly the world needs Jesus.
That's right.
And that's where we're at.
That's a good note to end on.
It is.
All right. Well, thank you all.
This was a good one, Ames. I liked this one. This was a good topic.
Good stuff. Good stuff. All right. Well, guys, we appreciate you all. And we will see you next time. Don't forget to like this video and please subscribe to our channel. Drop your comments below. We'd love to hear from you. If you prefer audio podcasts, please follow us on your favorite streaming platform.